Hello and welcome back everyone to Blender 4 Geometry Node Workshop for Jungle Vines. In the last lesson, we set ourselves up with the final debugging, final touches to the Geometry Node. Now let's go ahead and talk a little bit in regards to certain different uses. So for example, other than we can just apply it onto a mesh for a visual effect, what we can do also, we can make use out of it and get ourselves a nice setup when it comes to animation. So how do we actually do that? Well, first of all, in order to go to Animation tab, we're going to go onto the upper section. We're going to click on Animation tab itself. And that's just going to change and reorganize our windows. And we're going to get ourselves at the very bottom a timeline. Timeline is important when we want to play animation. So we can click spacebar to just start playing. But at the moment, we don't have anything. So that's all right. And another thing to know is that if we want to expand it or make this shorter, the overall animation, we can change it over here. So in this case, I'll just change it to 200 and that's going to be the maximum amount. So once it reaches 200, it's just going to basically either stop or repeat itself. So that's pretty much the basics of the animation. Again, we don't have anything, but what we can do is we can go on to our Vines Geometry tab and we can actually set ourselves up with any value that we want within the setup itself. I will actually go ahead and firstly turn on the material so we could have a nice visual feedback. I'm going to go ahead and click on this button over here. If you're not seeing it, you can scroll your mouse whilst hovering over this area and you should be able to just scroll to the right side and just get yourself a viewport shading that has material. Anyways, going back to this, if we want to change it up, what we can do is just simply we can change up the length and we can see how it works like. We'll notice that there is a lot of randomization with the leaves and they start like just popping in and out. The reason being is that to keep the consistent density, we try to basically change the value, and that often gives us much more trouble when we are animating it basically. So we're going to go ahead and fix that. Before doing that though, let's go ahead and actually get ourselves a nice animation. So what we're going to do is we're going to go at the very start to the value of the frame 0. We're going to then hover over the length, which at the moment we have set as, well, we can set it to 0 actually, that's going to be better. We can click I while hovering over and then we'll see that we get ourselves this, these dots basically. They show where the animation keyframes are. Then we can just scroll all the way to the other end like so. And actually I will put it at something like 100 over here. Then I'm going to click, while hovering over length, I'm going to click I. Then I'm going to change the length itself to something of a reasonable amount. So maybe 1.6 looks pretty nice, maybe even more if you want to. Something like that. That looks real nice. Actually, I quite like that. Let's go ahead and click I while hovering over. And now we have a couple of frames that will be changing whilst the animation is working. So we can click spacebar and it starts growing like so. Again, the leaves themselves are a bit all over the place and the density trying to be consistent with it being based on the length gives us that result. So what I recommend you do in this particular case is go to Geometry Node, go back onto its editor like so. I will just expand it. Then we're going to find ourselves the leaves. So since we cleaned up our Geometry Node, it's pretty fast to do. So leaf generator over here. And as you can see over here, we multiply density with the length and that causes a lot of leaves to just pop in and out of existence. So we're going to fix that. And the way we're going to do it is we're going to, well, first of all, we're going to grab an input. We're going to change this, we can call this consistent density. Like so. And I'm going to drag it all the way down to the leaf section. Right next to density like so, and change this consistent density to be a boolean, so either on or off switch basically like so. So now we can turn it on or off. Now that we have ourselves the consistent density input, we're going to go ahead and actually add it over here with the help of a switch. Let's go ahead and search for a switch like so. We're going to make use out of this switch. Since this value is a float value, we're going to change this up to be a float value as well. Let me just go ahead and find it. There we go. And now I'm going to basically, if this switch is on with the consistent density, which I'm actually just going to go ahead and duplicate it over here to get it closer. So consistent density, once it gets turned on, we want to make sure that when it's turned on, it's going to give us a true statement from this. So it's going to be multiplied with the length. And if it's not multiplied by the length, if it's set as false, we're going to have this as just a normal density like so. And now that we have the values plugged in, we can just plug it over here into the count value. We can just tick on and off and see what it does, and we can see the difference it makes. So with the consistent value, we can change the, the length over here, and that's going to be trying to keep the density of the leaves in more or less the same regard. But with this ticked off, and actually I will increase the density over here like so by quite a large margin, just like that. We can start changing it, and you can see that it actually starts by getting clustered up, and then we're going to be getting ourselves them spread out like so. The leaves themselves, whilst it's very fast, they're going to be moving in a bit of a randomized pattern because of the rotation of the curvature of basically their placement. But all in all, you can see that they're actually, whilst holding shift, I can actually do that. So whilst holding shift, you can see that they're actually being kept in more or less the same location. So it's actually going to be much easier for us to animate them. So that's pretty much that. We can now go back onto the animation and actually not only set ourselves up with the leaves that are just being grown from the length itself, like so. I'm going to go ahead and just go back here. We can also set up the scale of the leaves to also help us out with in regards to this growth of the vines. So I'm going to go past the 100 point. I'm going to basically click I on the desired result for the scale. Then I'm going to go back a little bit and set this to 0. I'm going to go right before when it reaches the maximum point. And then I'm going to click I over here as well. So now it starts growing out like this, and then starts picking up the leaves and growing out once it's like slowing down with the growth. And we can even increase the density by quite a bit. I'm going to set this to quite a large value actually, something like 300. I think that's going to be quite all right. Maybe 400 even, like so. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We're going to get ourselves a very nice type of a growth. And that concludes our journey through creating a vine geometry node together. I hope you found the techniques we explored in both the geometry graph and material setup to be enlightening and valuable for your future projects. We've crafted a comprehensive geometry node setup that's versatile enough to apply to any object you choose, complete with custom leaf planes and bark materials. For those of you eager to continue learning, I highly recommend you our course on creating a staircase generator with geometry nodes. It's a fantastic next step for deepening your understanding of geometry nodes. And if you're more inclined towards the modeling aspect, our latest course on creating a Victorian scene as a 3D environment could be perfect for you. It's our most extensive course to date, designed to teach everything Blender has to offer from ground up for environment artists. That's all for me now. Thank you so much for joining, and I hope to see you again soon in our future courses. Until then, keep experimenting, keep learning, and most importantly, keep creating.